That's what she said. And you know what? What was that? Okay, James.
Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. So what's your TV watch list looking like this year? We have a lot of good shows coming out soon, which is great because having a weekly TV show is fun and helps a lot with anxiety, kinda. Something I noticed though, anime isn't making my roster as much this year. And I guess I'm just so used to anime dominating my TV time. But it hasn't been like that this year so far. I mean, I've been watching Freerun and that's it. Well, there is one other show, and at first glance, it's so weird. Please tell me I'm not the only one watching the Darwin Incident on Prime Video. When I first got a glimpse of the main character, Charlie, the human Z, I was kind of freaked out, not gonna lie. There was no way I could watch this anime. Charlie's expressionless monkey face was just too weird. And then I heard the opening theme. I love this opening theme. The music is so good, and the bridge is the best part. Again, this anime is called The Darwin Incident. And guess what? This play is indeed about us. The Darwin Incident is an anime that takes place in the United States. Look at that. We get to be the stars. California. My favorite part is seeing the Japanese subtitles under the English text. And shout out to those of us who went to non-uniform schools. That's one of those things I don't think about, but the first thing I notice when I watch an anime that takes place outside of Japan. But this is so cool as a Western fan. We get to see our world through their eyes. I wonder how they'll depict us. Oh, damn. More to come on all of that. Be aware that there are some major triggers in this anime, yeah. So the story begins in a clearly unethical and freaked out laboratory. Right away, the tone is set for one of the show's central themes, the ethical boundaries between humans and animals and the consequences of extremism. Because of all the things these scientists could do with this highly intelligent animal, they decide to get her pregnant. Yup. And the pregnancy was killing her. As she was dying, she was rescued by this extreme vegan animal rights organization with ulterior motives of their own. The monkey ended up giving birth to Charlie, the human chimpanzee hybrid protagonist. And our story begins with Charlie 15 years later. He's been raised by his vegan adopted human parents and is going to attend high school. Charlie is interesting. He seems so serious, logical, and passive, and kind of bland, honestly. But then through his classmates and Lucy, we see that he isn't actually detached and is quite empathetic. Charlie's interactions with his classmates is kind of funny. He's half human, half chimp, so of course his classmates are going to be fascinated and freaked out over him. They keep asking him about veganism, which I thought was so weird. How uptight they were over it, because honestly, who cares? But, and we'll get to this later, there's an extreme organization made up of vegans, so anyone who's vegan, they get the side eye. Charlie's bullies are constantly trying to fill him out. They feel like anyone who is pro-animal life or animal rights is automatically anti-human, which is actually really interesting because we see a lot of that in the real world. Not specifically with vegans and animals, but if you know, you know. What I like about Charlie is he stands his ground. He'll share his views and explain his choices, followed by saying some crazy off-the-wall stuff that leaves everyone looking crazy. He's also curious about humanity and has a strong stance on how he sees life equally between humans and animals. He also seems to have a kind of superhuman edge, almost like a superpower, with his incredible strength and reflexes. But there's something that happens in a later episode that makes me question his stoic demeanor. It gave me the impression that he wasn't always this way, something happened, and now this calm, controlled persona is actually something he's learned to perform to protect himself emotionally. Because the big question of the anime is, does Charlie deserve human rights? And while there are some people that think all living things deserve some kind of rights, there's another side that believes only humans should have rights. It's interesting. Oh, and Charlie definitely has mommy issues. Does he even like his adopted parents? I really can't tell. Speaking of his classmates, Lucy, our female lead, is another interesting character. Lucy was the first person to befriend and stick up for Charlie, and ever since she's been forcing her friendship on him. My issue with Lucy is that she seems to lack clear identity on her own and instead builds her entire sense of purpose around Charlie. During her first moments on screen, she and her hoodie are giving very withdrawn, antisocial, and wannabe outcasts. But once she starts bonding with Charlie, her entire personality shifts. She becomes much more expressive and outspoken. She has this very bold stand up and yell at people kind of energy. It's giving Aries. I kind of like that. The problem is her entire character revolves around Charlie, which I hate for a female lead. Unless it's Mikasa from Attack on Titan, because that makes so much sense story-wise. They're friends now and obviously getting closer, but are they really gonna make this girl get with this monkey? The opening theme gives me romantical vibes between Charlie and her. That is going to be so weird. I've always hated the Beauty and the Beast trope. It's almost always women who are paired with monsters or beastly men as love interests, and I see through it. This is a clever way of reinforcing the social standard that women are supposed to see past cruelty and uncover the good man hidden underneath. And it's annoying because men are almost never expected to do the same. Media constantly shows women loving the beast, but it almost never shows men doing the same. What they will do is show a man learning to love a woman who's like overweight, which is honestly so dehumanizing to equate men as monsters to women as chubby. Remember Shallow Hal? Yeah, exactly. And because I already know somebody's gonna bring up Shrek, A, Shrek is an ogre, not a human, and B through Z, Shrek wanted human Fiona. He settled for Olga Fiona, and we know this because he got tired of her right after she had his kids. Anyways, speaking of the theme song, the first thing that caught my attention was actually the black man, who to me looks like a mixture of Oscar Proud and President Obama. The moment I saw him, I gave the biggest side eye because why the hell are y'all including us, well, black guys, in your monkey anime? I was not feeling the monkey parallels in the theme song. Those visuals, they gave me a big red flag. Black characters pop up so randomly in anime. I mean, you usually can never find us. So when we do pop up, I know it's deliberate. And to see us pop up in the monkey anime, before I even knew what the anime was, that immediately gave me pause. And I really wasn't sure if this was something I would spend my time on after all. You guys know me, I have an entire playlist dedicated to overanalyzing my phenotype in the media that I consume. I'm very suspicious and extremely sensitive to representation. Being a fan of a lot of different Asian media, let's just say I have my battle scars. And I think often in the community, we sometimes mistake inclusion for what is just unprovoked racism. So when I see black characters pop up in an anime, although I want to be excited, I always have to be cautious. This character, his name is Max, and just as I look at this character, immediately I see how there's such a difference in the way anime portrays black men and black women. Spoiler alert, this is a topic of an upcoming video that I'm working on for this channel, so stay tuned. But black men, in my opinion, are represented way better in anime. Max here, his design's alright. That's pretty standard. I've only seen a few anime artists who have really captured the flavor and essence of blackness when it comes to their black character designs. Like that trash anime, Gachakuta. This guy Max, he doesn't look bad. He just looks just like On Yokopon, or, the black guy from Attack on Titan. One thing about black male characters in anime is that they are always undeniably black. When you look at the character, you know exactly who he is supposed to represent. They have dark skin and hair that resembles most black guys. And I think that's what's most important, that your representation looks like you. It's frustrating how opposite it is for black women, and that's 2D or in real life. When it comes to the media, most of the black girl, quote, black girl characters are designed to be super ambiguous. They pull away from our blackness, whereas I feel like black male characters, they go more towards it. I also feel like that ambiguity surrounding black girl characters almost always leads to a tug of war online. Within the anime fandom, black girl characters are always up for debate. But even amongst us, there's still debate on whether certain characters whom we collectively have claimed are actually black, because the design apparently isn't clear enough. And I'm more skeptical than most of y'all. You guys like to round up and grade on a curve. In my opinion, if it isn't matter of fact, it isn't representation. And I know we do have some really good ones, like Canary from Hunter x Hunter, or Atsuko from Michiko and Hatchin, and Dorothy from The Great Pretender. But of course, I see the bias. And for the record, this is not me saying I want to see black women in this monkey anime. I'm actually so good. But it is interesting how black male characters pop up a lot in this anime. But I haven't seen a black girl once. Maybe one NPC in the high school on the first episode. But other than that, it's like Bridgerton over here. But we'll come back to this conversation in a future video. In the meantime, check out my playlist. Anywho, and Max, yeah, he's insane. He's one of the founding members of the ALA, the Animal Liberation Alliance, the group of vegans who rescued Charlie's mom 16 years ago from that lab. But now, 16 years later, they are way more extreme and radical. Max really wants Charlie to be the face of this animal rights fight. He's a interesting villain. He's pretty ruthless, and like I said, insane. But I have to admit, this is one of anime's better adaptations of blackness. I mean, even though this character is completely unhinged. Of course, I'm holding my final judgment until I've seen the entirety of the story. I just don't trust making a black man such a big character in this anime. It feels like a setup. No matter how niche and interesting I find the plot to be, I just can't underestimate racism. So we will see. The entire anime is actually pretty disturbing. There's a heavy, ominous feeling that runs through almost every episode. And like I mentioned earlier, the story takes place in the United States. So a lot of the violence and metaphors mirror our real world tensions, our social conflicts, moral dilemmas, and the difficult conversations we're trying to have, all of it. Especially right now in this terrible and totally chaotic moment in history. Stories like this feel incredibly relevant. And that's one of the things I appreciate most about this anime, the underlying ideas it explores through its story. This anime has several themes. It hits on identity and belonging, red pillism, humanity's obsession with controlling how other people think and feel, environmentalism, animal rights, weaponized activism, social alienation, and the impact of the media. One of the most interesting things about the Darwin Incident is how much it relies on nuance. The anime shows us issues that are gray and morally complicated in situations where the motivation behind different sides are understandable. Almost every conflict in the story begins with an idea that, on the surface, feels reasonable. Protecting animals, fighting exploitation, wanting justice, wanting safety. None of these things are inherently wrong. But it's about what happens when belief hardens into ideology, when a cause stops being about compassion or ethics and zeroes in on control and prejudice. Watching those nuanced ideas slowly collapse into extremism is what makes the story so unsettling, and this story has some very scary moments. Setting the story in the United States makes everything feel more intentional. It's an anime, yeah, but it can also be seen as a commentary on American culture. Which feels fair, because if there's one thing we're known for, it's taking beliefs and pushing them to their most extreme conclusions. Movements here rarely stay moderate for long. They polarize and radicalize and eventually stop being just beliefs and become identity. And watching this as someone who actually lives in the US, it's hard not to recognize the parallels and real-world influences behind many of the conflicts, characters, and events. This anime uses a lot of language we use in real life too. The debates around activism, environmentalism, animal rights, and scientific ethics mirror conversations we're having right now. And as someone who is also a descendant of American slavery, the show's portrayal of protest and extremism sometimes leaves me conflicted. Historically, major social change has rarely come from a polite disagreement. Most often, it's disruptive, uncomfortable, even radical. Actions that force society to confront injustice. In the United States, protest is supposed to be protected for that very reason. It exists as a way for the people to challenge power and push the government to remain accountable to the public it's supposed to serve. And that reality makes these conversations about when activism crosses the line into extremism much more complicated. The one place I feel like the anime falls a little short is how little attention it gives to the institutional power. Government, corporations, and the people who actually hold power often play a huge role in shaping the outcomes of these kind of conflicts. In real life, those forces are rarely as absent as they sometimes feel in the story. I mean, just look at everything happening right now. This moment in American history, honestly, world history, will likely be studied for decades to come. The media we create during times like this will eventually be dissected in classrooms and universities for scholars to overanalyze what we were thinking. I just pray we actually make it to that point. Another interesting character is Gare, the red-pilled kid who represents when people are drawn to extremism. I'm still not entirely sure if the anime wants us to sympathize with him. He was isolated at school and eventually finds his way to that corner of the internet that grooms young boys into red pill ideology. And unfortunately, we see this happening in real life every day. It's actually so scary. But Gare also gives me a slightly different perspective. His personality doesn't really match what I typically see from people in those spaces in real life. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the show is intentionally complicating the archetype. And I guess that's the nuance of it all. I really appreciate how philosophical and political this anime is. This anime, the Darwin Incident, it feels incredibly fresh and creative. I really appreciate anime like this. It's very woke, as you guys like to say. And I mean, the best shows usually are. Because they're willing to engage with complex, nuanced conversations like the ones this story brings up. And yeah, the biggest thing was Charlie's face for me, but I finally got to a point where I look at him like a Ninja Turtle. It helps. The Darwin Incident needs more love and attention. The manga art looks amazing, so you guys check it out and let me know what you think. And yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Check out my playlist linked in the description. I will see you guys later. Bye.